The COVID-19 pandemic has evolved into crises of poverty, hunger, and malnutrition, which burden small family farmers and fisherfolk, agricultural workers, landless people, indigenous peoples, and slum dwellers. Nationwide lockdowns and restrictions on trade and travel have disrupted food chains. As governments ask people to stay home, the need for secure land and housing tenure has become crucial for everyone. With the predicted economic fallout from the global pandemic, competition for government resources can lead to tensions between healthcare, land and agrarian reform, and long-term food security priorities. In response, most governments have hatched short-term social assistance programs. However, unless there is a drastic overhaul of the development model, these efforts will return us to business as usual. Unfortunately, there are also individuals and groups who seek to take advantage of the situation through illegal logging, illegal mining, and land grabbing. Nonetheless, small farmers across Asia remain in the front lines of this pandemic, as they continue to supply rice, grains, pulses, vegetables, and seafoods. However, small farmers and producers, rural workers, fisherfolk, and indigenous peoples continue to be deprived of access and control over land and productive resources. Without question, we need to rebuild our immune system, not only as individuals, but also collectively as a society. This situation confirms that development frameworks must be transformed, recognizing the primacy of people and the environment to ensure food for all. Access and control over land and natural resources should be in the hands of small producers. The role that indigenous peoples and forest dwellers play in biodiversity conservation must be recognized to prevent the emergence and spread of new diseases. As an overall food system strategy, governments need to support and strengthen local food systems and small-scale food producers. A fundamental working principle for building lasting food security is by reducing food kilometers or reducing the distance between where food is produced and where the same food is consumed. Community-based agroecological farming systems should be promoted, as it builds resiliency by using natural and local inputs while emphasizing shorter supply chains and local territorial markets. Beyond food aid and economic recovery programs, the governance of agriculture and food systems should be restructured and transformed so that policies and programs directly respond to the needs of the poor. At the same time, monitoring mechanisms with the participation of civil society and maintaining the independence of media should be established to ensure transparency of the delivery of such programs. CSOs need to continue planning with communities for longer-term yet flexible solutions. Civil society must also engage political and business groups towards formulating holistic, decentralized, participatory, and climate-resilient land use and development plans. At a global level, solidarity is needed to support the call for a safe and effective COVID-19 people's vaccine. Join many nations and groups in the call for an immediate ceasefire in active armed conflicts in all parts of the world, and call for urgent debt relief for developing countries and especially those that suffer from internal conflicts. At the same time, the rights of civil society organizations, land and human rights defenders, and media should be respected and protected. We also call for the states to protect and ensure the safety of those involved in food production, handling, and processing to help avoid catching and spreading COVID-19. Recognize the specific role of women in health and food systems as food producers and care workers. Provide and ensure social protection mechanisms for the poorest and most vulnerable people during and in the aftermath of the COVID-19 crisis. Ensure the right to food for all, sufficient in both quantity and nutritional quality, and provide assistance to returning migrants from abroad and urban areas to the rural areas. For our part, ANGOC members will continue to work within and beyond our network to facilitate exchanges of experiences, lessons, innovations, and evidence-based recommendations for stakeholders as we hurdle past these uncertain times. We will continue to strive to secure food and freedom, jobs and justice, land and labor, peace and prosperity for the present and succeeding generations. As a step forward, we shall generate solid and community-based information to assess food security at the household and community levels as basis for community-level planning and action. We will link these village-based initiatives with people-centered policy advocacies and mobilizations at the national and regional levels. We shall facilitate the establishments of local food hubs to shorten the distance between small food producers and consumers. Finally, we enjoin other CSOs and networks to disseminate this statement and further the discourse on land rights and food security as we work together in building a resilient and compassionate tomorrow.